I thought it's a very simple situation, so I still don't understand the confusion over, but I guess I can do more. I mean, I tried to explain myself that intending building a duplex there, we have to have 2 parking spots, which we have 1 instead of 2, and we applied for exemption for the second spot. So that was our basic intention.
So again, my question, the table or not?
I mean,
okay, we have committee members who have questions, Mr. Chair, so we could hear from them, or we could hear a motion from the committee.
Okay, I'll entertain questions from the committee first.
Okay, so we had Thomas with a question, and then we have Nancy.
Yeah, the staff comments on page 3 seem to go beyond just parking. They say that the applicant has not demonstrated sufficient landscaped area, amenity area, or parking can be accommodated on site to satisfy the needs of a 2-family dwelling. And that seems to be an issue beyond parking. What does staff have to say about that?
Yeah, I would like to hear it too, because
So
Okay,
through the chair to the committee member, I would say the main issue is with parking, and through revisions to address those concerns, they may be able to address the lot area and landscaping concerns. So that's why I indicated previously that the major concern was with parking, but those comments do still stand. I just think they may be able to be addressed with further revisions.
And I believe I had a question from Nancy or comment.
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate thing here, we shouldn't be discussing it if it needs to be tabled, but of course that is up to the applicant. The length of this property is only 75 or 73 feet long from front to back. There's a huge addition at the back, and I think the whole house somewhere comes out over 4,000 square feet. The diagrams or the drawings that were presented to us clearly reflect the way the neighbors are feeling. We have handfuls of letters from the neighbors who are living beside this building and recognize the building and perhaps where some of the rooms are. So in order to clarify those, I guess they're only presumptions, I would like to see a more clear outside or inside drawing from the applicant defining some of these so-called libraries and closed off rooms, because we dealt with a property just a few minutes ago that they said there was too many rooms, and that number of rooms then required additional parking spots, whether it's 1 family, 2 family, or 10 family, but it was based on the number of rooms in a single detached dwelling. This is a huge number of rooms on a very small lot. So I don't think I'm ready to approve anything on this. I think the applicant needs to look at this and take it back for more clarification. So I'd be prepared to motion for tabling.
Okay, so
Any other?
need a motion for tabling?
Does he agree to it? Okay, motion for table by Nancy, seconder.
And I have Margaret.
All in favor of table?
Here.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none?
Seeing none, motion is tabled. So to the applicant, maybe you can sit down with planning and get some of these items worked out.
okay, thank you.
Okay, and I believe we are all set for the next one. So we are hearing HMA 21-173, sorry, for 217 Beach Road in Hamilton. We have the agent registered to speak, and the owners, and no interested parties.
Okay, is the owner or agent available?
Yes, present.
Yep, did you read the comments posted?
I did read the comments. Yeah, I have a little bit of confusion with them.
So do I.
Yeah.
I guess before I get started, I just wondered, staff, your final comment on page 3, it says staff support, do not the variances. So I just,
My apologies, that is meant to say staff do not support the variances. My apologies.
okay. Okay, that clears up one little bit. Back to the agent or owner. So questions or concerns?
Yeah, my question would be that when we bought the place, we've only owned the place for a little over a year, and there wasn't an entire garage left there, but there was remains of a garage, like the sill plates. I have a concrete pad, everything like that, and it was marked clearly on my survey. So we've built it same size, same location as previous, just sort of in a backwards type situation with getting the permit here. And yeah, my concern is how it needs to move 7.5 meters forward when you wouldn't even have access to the backyard at that point.
So this structure is built now?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not,
What?
it's framed. It's not finished
Yeah.
because we stopped working on it.
Okay, but it was started without a permit?
You got it.
Okay, and the existing structure that was there was 2015, so like 6 years ago.
Yeah, like I said, the remains of the bottom plates of the walls and everything were still there. Like the garage would have been dilapidated and fallen apart, and they dragged parts of it away.
Okay. Committee have any questions? I mean, the only comment that I would have, and I guess it would be to planning, once a structure is taken down, then it's classified as, obviously, gone, not there anymore. And then if you want to rebuild something, you have to follow the new bylaws that are in place. Is that right?
Through the chair, that's correct. So we just felt that the applicant could comply to the requirements in this case.
Committee, questions?
I have a question from Thomas, and then Laverne, and then Mel, I think.
How deep is the lot?
I'm sorry?
I'm wondering how deep the lot is.
Well, if I had to guess, it's about 110 or so.
102 feet.
Yeah, okay.
Is it there somewhere? So the garage can be moved forward somewhat without destroying the backyard, can it not?
No, because there's sort of a shared driveway between 217 and 219 to access these garages that are at the back. So if I were to pull it all the way forward, I would have to take out part of the deck, and then you wouldn't have access to the backyard from the driveway side. You'd have to go through the house.
My only other comment is looking at the one plan, it looks like the garages on either side are not in compliance with the bylaw. It looks like everybody sort of squeezed large garages, small backyards. And does it make a difference if this man's allowed to leave the garage where it is?
Makes sense to me.
Okay, and we had a question from Laverne.
Yeah, my first question was, and I think you just answered it. Is it a shared driveway? When I was there yesterday, I looked up the driveway and I walked in partway. There was a truck parked in the driveway. And there appeared to be a building. When you're looking in the driveway on the right-hand side, I'm just wondering what's going on in that building, because it's much bigger than just an accessory building to park a car or a truck in. And I noticed a trailer parked in the back dooryard that had a bit of a camouflage on it. And I'm thinking, I saw where you'd started to work on this thing, but the building that you're putting up is 25% bigger than what it's supposed to be. It's 246 square feet, and you're only allowed 190. And I'm wondering why this thing needs to be that big and what you're going to store in it. And if you've got a shared driveway, if the person that's on your right or to the east of you is something parked in the driveway, you can't even get into your garage. So I need to know what's going on here before I make a motion to approve or deny, so that I can have some clarity in my mind what we're dealing with.
Okay. So the reason the garage is 12 by 20 is because the garage that was on my survey was 12 by 20, and that's a standard size single car garage.
Right.
It's used for parking of a vehicle. I rent it out for somebody to store an old hot rod in it. And then the driveway issue, we also own the adjoining property at 219 Beach Road. So nobody's allowed to park in the driveway. There's signs everywhere. It's a right of way. So the vehicle you saw yesterday was just the guy that is renting out that garage that was there loading his trailer with some things.
And I believe we also had a question from Margaret,
No,
or sorry, Mel, and then Margaret.
no, I'm okay.
Okay.
Question for the owner. So this garage, are you reusing the foundation from the original garage?
The original slab has been maintained, yes.
Okay, so you didn't have to dig anything else. It's just new garage, same foundation, same slab.
Yeah, new frame structure on the existing concrete slab.
Thank you.
Further questions?
Yeah, just one more, Claire. I had one more clarification. 217 and 219 are the two that you guys own?
Correct.
Or are you the agent for the owner?
I'm the agent for the owner.
Okay, so you don't own it.
No, I don't own it. Sorry.
Okay, you did
Yeah.
say we own the one next door.
Yeah, we're in business together. So when I say we, it's to do with a lot of things.
Okay, all right, no worries.
Yeah.
I think one of the members asked a question about the fence-to-fence garage behind 219. So that's the mutual drive then between 217 and 219, correct?
That's right.
Okay, and your 219's garage takes up the entire backyard, so that's probably been there a long time.
It has, yeah.
Okay, so there's nowhere for that person to park as they come up that mutual drive, because there's no space to put a car in front of that garage, I'm assuming.
There's two parking spaces in front of that garage.
Okay, so any green space back there?
No.
No, I wouldn't imagine. Okay, and then on the other side, which is the property in question here, you've moved that garage back from where the original foundation was, or was it all up against the fence?
No, I reconstructed in the same size and same location as the previous.
Okay, so size, I'm okay. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, all right, go ahead then, folks. Whatever is next.
Mr. Chairman, I think Mel has a question or a comment, and I just had one as well. I just remembered that on the comments package, there was a condition that was listed, but that actually should have been a note. So I just wanted, when decisions get made or motions or whatever, that should just be changed to a note. And so I believe Mel had a question, comment, or something.
The question I got is, I'm hearing this right, this garage is going to be rented out, like both garages are going to be rented out, they're not going to be used by the owner?
Right, correct.
So it's not a personal use garage, it's being rented out to be used by somebody else?
Well, I mean, myself personally, I rent the big garage at 219 Beach.
So it's being rented out, not by the owner, not being used by the owner, but it's all being rented out by somebody else, whether it's you or anybody else.
Correct.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions? A motion?
Nancy?
Yep, we're talking about Beach Road here, folks. So I think because the existing size is staying as it was, I'm going to go for it and make a motion for approval.
And, okay, sorry. So, Bobbit, were you there at the beginning of the item?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been here for the whole thing.
Okay. All right. So, and Nancy, just to clarify, your motion for approval was with the condition changed to a note and then as amended per building?
Commission change. There's the condition. Yep. Yes.
Okay. And
Thank
Bob, you're seconding the same?
Second.
Perfect.
Okay, all in favor?
In favor.
Opposed?
And I have Laverne and Mel opposed.
Okay, 2 opposed, motion carried.
Did we lose Mark on that one?
No, I'm here.
No, he's here.
Okay.
I can hear him. He's just speaking quietly.
I couldn't hear your here.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, application approved.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and we are all set for the next one. So we are hearing HMA 21155 for 519 Russo Road in Hamilton. We have the agent registered to speak as well as the owner, and there are no interested parties for this file.
Okay, is the agent present?
I am here, Shane Van Barneveld. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
You read the comments posted?
I did read the comments, and I do have some things I'd like to comment back about. So I found the comments to be a little bit confusing and sometimes contradictory. What, just don't fully understand what the city's trying to say here.
Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, first I just want to do a little bit of background about why we're trying to build this here. It is a blended family coming together, and they're trying to accommodate 5 children and parents. So that's why our proposal is 5 bedrooms and then a master suite on the main floor. So with that, of course, that many rooms and then the way things are calculated, parking is always brought into the situation. And I feel like parking is I think the biggest concern that the city has. With variance 1, all we're trying to do is do a side addition that has a garage on the main floor and a bedroom on the second floor. We're maintaining the existing front wall of the house with the side addition. The city's comments of pushing it back, I think, relate to creating another parking spot. But the city also recommends approving variance 3, which we're requesting that we're only allowed 1 spot from the required 4. So I think, there's a little bit of contradiction there. And I don't think that what we're proposing by keeping the garage flush with the existing house is I believe it's minor in nature. And that's allowing us to get a garage big enough to park a car in it, which, is obviously important for the overall proposal here. Variance number 2 is also a bit of a confusing one from just on the comments from the city, but the north side is an existing condition with the current home, so we're just maintaining that. The southern side just matches the side yard projection of the existing detached garage. So this space is obviously needed to create the garage that we're proposing to build. so that it can contain a car and maintain that parking spot. If we shift that wall over, we're making that garage a lot more narrow, and it becomes more, it just becomes a hindrance to try to park a car in there. So, so that's why, we're proposing to move that side yard setback a foot into the setback there. It's also important to note that the yards or the properties that are on that side are actually backyards and not a side yard of another property. So the house is nowhere near that lot line. So, and I think that makes a difference with what we're asking. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. And then the city also, their comments, they make a note that the variance matches the existing garage and maintains the general opinion of the zoning bylaw. But then they also follow it up a little bit later by saying they suggest to not approve it. So a little bit of contradiction there. So we were a little bit confused, but from our point of view, like, it seems very minor to what we're trying to do, and it allows us to carry out the whole what we're trying to accomplish for this family here, and getting that one car garage on the side of the house. The other two variances that the city had comments were 4 and 5. Variance 4 is simply matching the current house and its eaves and gutter projections. The existing house, the front wall is already into the front yard setback, and there's an existing unenclosed porch, and it is again existing non-conforming, and all we're doing is matching that. So I feel like variance 4 is we're just maintaining the existing condition, and so it's again very minor in nature. 5, I think, is the only one that we could compromise on. We designed a 24-inch overhang simply to make the house just look a little bit more architecturally appealing. We could bring that back to 18 inches, which would bring the projection that we're asking for back 6 inches. So that would, if that's going to help us get this, we would be willing to compromise on that. All the other ones, I feel are, we're dealing with existing conditions, and we're trying to make sure that we get everything that the client wants here.
I have a question from Nancy, I believe.
Yep. Shane, I'm just checking on that garage that's in the back. Is that coming down?
It's not. So the overall plan is that the new garage that we're building, the southerly wall, there's an addition, there's finished space behind the garage, and that wall is just supposed to continue right into the existing garage, so that there'd just be one long wall from the new proposed addition all the way to the back of the existing garage.
Okay, and the other question was on the second floor. I see the 4 bedrooms, and then of course the step down or step over to the bedroom over the garage is also a very large open space. Yeah,
so and that space is there so that the kids have a place to hang out. We didn't, well, the clients and us, we didn't want to just have 5 bedrooms and no kind of space to congregate and hang out and do what kids do. So this allows the kids to have a space upstairs that they can kind of call their own and hang out in and get a little bit of time for the kids. So
it's like an unenclosed rec room.
Yeah, it's just exactly. It's space up above, right at the top of the stairs. Basically, it's just going to be open. I'm sure they'll have some couches and a TV and PlayStation.
Lots of those designs out there now. Okay.
There is. Yeah, I think these common spaces are very important.
I have Margaret and then Laverne.
Okay, so the existing garage is going to remain.
Correct.
But obviously you can't drive a car into it.
No,
So is
there
it a
will,
garage for a car?
it's going to be storage for, it's a fairly deep property. There's lots of grass to maintain back there. So it's going to be storage for, outdoor furniture, lawnmowers, that kind of stuff.
And then we had a question
Okay.
from Laverne.
Yes, I hear a very good explanation of all of the things that are supposed to be denied here. Variances that were denied. I heard good, solid explanation. And I'm confident that what he's trying to do here, what the applicant is trying to do here is very worthwhile. I would like a motion to approve.
I would second that motion.
As long as there's no other questions from the committee, I'll accept that motion and seconder. Seeing no other questions. Okay, call the vote. All in favor? Opposed, if any?
Seeing none?
Motion carried.
Thank you very much, committee.
That was a nice second house.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's 172 feet deep, Margaret, just so you know.
Which, the
So
lot?
there's lots of room. There's lots of room back there.
I can just foresee a secondary unit in the existing garage.
Oh, well, one day down the road, they could apply for that. But not right now.
Okay, and then I'm not sure which version of the agenda you have, so I just wanted to let you know that FLA 2150 for 207 Main Street North in Flamborough was withdrawn. The variance was no longer required. So we are now hearing FLA 21161 for 320 Progreston Road in Flamborough. And we have the agent and the owner registered to speak and no interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello,
Yes.
my name is
Go ahead.
Anastasia Vasco. I'm here representing John Souza at 320 Progreston Road.
Yes, did you read the comments posted?
Yes, I did read the comments posted, and I thank you all for your time in reviewing our proposal.
We did receive one letter from a neighbor who was concerned about the process of what you're doing, but I guess they're not available today.
Yes, we did receive, we reviewed that letter and we note their concerns. No other neighbor has a problem with our build. This neighbor, unfortunately to say, has been a problem neighbor due to their dogs. And so we expected a response from them.
Okay. The only question I guess I have to planning is, 0.9 of a meter is, well, it's right there at 3 feet, I guess. These lots, or this lot is a fairly big lot. I just wondered, we deal with minor variances and what's recommended here is 7.5 meters. And 7.5 meters is I think that's about 24 feet and change. And they're only at 3 feet. It seems quite a bit difference in size. I just wondered, if there's any way that, this building could be moved a little bit to give a little more accessibility around it. 3 feet isn't a lot of space around it, but that's just a comment.
Yeah, the issue, Mr. Smith, is that the lot is wider than it is deep. That's our hindrance. So if we were to be the 7+ meters away from the back property line, we'd be at the house. So we're trying to push it to the far back corner so that we can use the green space and the grass. We've got a big vegetable and a plant garden back there with some trees. So we're trying to put it out of the way, and we chose that location also specifically because the neighbors have their shed in that corner. And even this morning, I just went and looked, there is a, they recently installed or planted 4 cedar trees along the fence line that they installed recently in the last year because of their dogs being so aggressive at us. And then beyond those 4 cedars, they have a tree, a maple tree that actually spans over 30 feet for its umbrella. So for privacy issue as well, they're not really going to see a lot of that garage, and that's why we chose to tuck it in that back corner.
Okay, thanks for the comments. I just, that was just my little bit of a concern, and planning has no problems with it, and you have the counselor on your side as well. So the committee have any other questions? If not, motion.
I have Nancy with a question.
No, that was a motion.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, so then I had a motion by Nancy and then seconded by Laverne. Or was yours a question?
Yep.
I saw hands and I didn't hear stuff. So.
I just wanted to, I was going to make the motion, but I'll leave it at a second. That's fine.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed, if any?
Seeing none?
None opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. Samantha was great too at your C of A office.
Yes, she's great. Okay, and we are all set for the next one. So we are hearing FLA 21169 for 98 Flamborough Street in Flamborough. And we have the owner registered to speak and no interested parties.
Is the owner available? Mr. Hall?
So I believe he was present earlier, but we don't see him right now.
Yeah, I did see his name pop up.
I don't see him on the call.
Still nothing? Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to the next one, and if you do see his name pop up, then we'll deal with him. If not, we'll deal with it at the end.
Okay, sounds good. So we are hearing FLA 21147 and FLB 2134 for 0/9408 Concession Road West in Flamborough. We have the agent registered to speak and no interested parties.
Good afternoon, Joel
Agent
Akatosh
present.
here. Sorry.
No.
Yes, well, welcome to our meeting. Did you read the comments posted?
Yes, I did. And so,
Okay, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I only want to make one point. I've read through the report. Everything is fine, except for on the severance application. The condition number 4, I think, is not necessary. I've reviewed the width of the road allowance between concession 7 and 8, and it is actually the 20.117. I think the confusion was created by a PIN number being indicated wrong on the draft reference plan. So that condition, I would like it removed if possible. But other than that, everything is in order.
Okay. Committee have any questions or concerns? The only question or concern I would have at this point would be, I'm a little surprised that source water protection, I'm a farmer and I'm involved in agriculture and I don't like to see land come out of production, but I'm just wondering, why they didn't recommend to at least bring that lot up to, the recommended 0.4 of a hectare, 1 acre. The size of it right now with the addition would put it at 0.66 of an acre. But that's they're okay with that size. And I guess obviously the agent and the owner is okay with that size. I was just surprised that at this point, Source Water wouldn't make that comment that they would prefer to see it come up to the minimum. But anyway, to the committee, any questions, concerns?
I had Margaret and then Nancy.
Okay, Margaret, question?
I also was a little surprised that there weren't any comments from Source Water, but my comment though relates to the dedication. I wouldn't feel comfortable removing it, but what about if we just say if required for that one?
Yes.
So if it's not required, then it'll be cleared.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm agreeable to that if required. We can demonstrate that it's already meeting the requirement that engineering has put forth.
Okay.
Okay. Was there another question?
We had, I believe, Nancy.
It was me, and I was going to make the very same recommendation. So we're good. So I'll move it for approval with that change.
I'll second it with a recommendation.
Yeah.
So Nancy and Mel.
Okay, all in favor?
Here.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Is Mr. Hall back yet?
No, I still don't see him.
Okay, he probably got kicked out. Technology.
Right, I believe we are all set for the next one, and we can hear the next two together because we are on time. So we are hearing DNA 21-167 and DNA 21-167 for 35 Park Street East, and then DNA 21-168 for 37 Park Street East in Dundas. They are related files, but separate properties.
Okay, is the agent available?
Yes, I'm available. I'm here. Thank you for hearing
Okay,
this.
Did you read the comments posted? Do
Yes, I did. Yeah.
you have any questions or concerns?
No, it seems pretty straightforward, hopefully.
Committee have any questions or concerns or motion?
Nancy?
Motion for both.
Okay, so I have Nancy with the motion, and then I think I saw Laverne seconded.
Both of them.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed, if any?
Here.
Sorry,
Seeing none?
just wait, sorry, Mark, were you opposed?
No, of course not.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I just heard it late, that's all, that's fine.
Application approved.
Okay, thank you so much.
That'd be very novel, Mark.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Actually, there's one of the ones where two adjacent properties were put in title the correct way. Two separate deeds.
Yes. Okay, and we are all set for the next one. So we are hearing FLA 21-172 for 1571 5th Concession Road West in Flamborough. And we have the owners registered to speak and no interested parties.
Okay, is the agent present?
I'm here.
Okay, did you read the comments posted?
Yes, I did.
And do you have any questions or concerns?
No, I don't. Do you have any questions?
Committee, any questions?
Move it.
I shall move.
Okay, so I have motion by Nancy, seconded by Mel.
Okay, all in favor?
Here.
Opposed, if any?
Thank you.
Seeing none.
Motion carried. Application approved.
Thank you.
And we are all set for the next one. So we are hearing GLA 21-151 for 88 Cuts Crescent in Glanbrook, and we have the owners registered to speak and no interested parties.
Is the agent available?
Yep, I'm the homeowner.
Okay, did you read the comments posted?
I did?
And do you have any questions or concerns?
No.
Committee, questions, motion?
Move it.
Move it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mel, then Nancy, you think?
Sure, whoever. There's a
Sorry,
delay, so it's not easy to tell.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Chairman, what was, that was Mel and then Nancy, or
Yeah.
did I,
Yeah.
yes? Okay,
Mel moved it, Nancy second.
okay. Wonderful.
All in favor?
Here, here.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, and then we have 3 minutes for the next one.
Did Mr. Hall show up yet?
No, I still don't see him.
Happy birthday.
Sorry, Councillor Pearson, are you here for all of the files in your ward or a specific one? Oh, I think you're just muted.
My apologies. There's only 3. Yeah, I'll speak to them all. Thank you.
Okay.
You scared me, all of them. I'm like, oh my God. Thank you.
Thanks.
And Brenda. Don't forget Brenda.
After sitting through all the meeting yesterday, I thought you just want to sit through another one today.
Oh, boy. That's a long one.
This is the second one today, Melvin. Thank you.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay.
We had audit and finance this morning.
Oh, good.
Pretty fancy chair, Brenda. Looks like you could sleep in it or get a massage or something.
When you're sitting for 12 hours, you want one of these chairs.
Okay.
You both look pretty good after the long meeting yesterday, so.
Lots of makeup and Photoshop.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay.
All right. I believe we are all set for the next one. So we are hearing GLA 21-156 for 1538 Golf Club Road in Glanbrook. We have the agent registered to speak as well as the owner. And I believe Councillor Johnson is here for this file, or Councillor Johnson, were you here for just another
Just
file?
observing and if needed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is the agent available?
Speaking.
Yes, welcome to the meeting. Did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
Yes, sir.
And do you have any questions or concerns?
None whatsoever.
Committee, questions, motion?
I have LeBurn with a motion and then seconded by Nancy.
Mel, do you have a question?
No, I don't. I'm just gonna move it. That's
Okay.
all right.
Okay, you've got a mover and seconder? Yes, okay. All in favor?
Here.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none?
None opposed? Motion carried. Application approved.
Thank you all. Take care.
Okay, and for the committee members, so this was the time of the break, and the file that was directly after the break was tabled. So that is GLA 21170 for 205 Thames Way in Glanbrook was tabled.
No surprise there.
So our next file will be at 255.
Mr. Hall hasn't showed up yet?
No, I will keep looking for him through the break, but he has not shown up.
Okay, let's take a break and we will come back at 2:55.
Wow, we can go for a trip somewhere.
And Laverne, sorry, did you have a question?
I just have a comment. In dealing with the 98 Flamborough Street, FLA 21169, even if we don't get Mr. Hall here, I see everything straightforward and the conditions, the zero, what do they call it, a zero around the yard or whatever it is. It's an existing condition and the city's recommending approval. I see no reason to belabor this thing. I think we could approve it. And I can't for the life of me understand what Mr. Hall would question on this, because like I said, it's an existing condition.
The only
So I
thing
think
that
we
worries
should deal
me,
with
Laverne,
it even if he's not here.
it often worries me that they could come in as often they do and say, oh, I just have one small little change to make.
Yeah.
Right? And then we're stuck.
I think
the
that's
only thing
unrealistic in this case.
Sounds like it's pretty straightforward, but it could happen.
We'll definitely give them the opportunity till the end of the meeting and then we'll make a decision then. I tend to agree with both comments from the committee.
Oh, he's here. He's come. He's here.
Oh, he's here.
I just saw him pop up.
Okay, so we did just recess. So we can
But look around.
Could double the permit cost.
And since I didn't get in to get a look around, does lot coverage apply to this area? And I would direct that comment to planning.
Through the chair.
Did you send that to everyone?
Sorry, through the chair to answer the question.
I never heard any of that.
Are we good? Sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback. Sorry, to answer that question, yes, lot coverage would apply to this area. In fact, there is going to be there is an increase if you look at item number 4 to increase the maximum lot coverage for accessory from 10 to 12.3%.
So how big is the lot?
Is that question directed at me? The lot's fairly large. Hang on a second.
So I guess to planning the question, what's allowed in this area for lot coverage?
Sorry, through the chair to the chair. The maximum lot coverage for an accessory structure is 10%. And they're going from 10% to 12.3.
Okay.
Does that include the lean-to?
Okay, well, the thing's done. There's no problems. So.
Who's that?
It's all right.
My lot coverage includes everything.
So to answer that question again through you, Mr. Chair, the only portion of the coverage that was flagged by zoning was for accessory structures. So it's 10% for accessory structures, not for the entire lot. I'd have to check the provisions for the entire lot, but I believe they're around 45% total coverage. But I'd have to double check the provisions in the Stony Creek bylaw for the zone. But the only thing that was flagged was the 10%, the increase from 10 to 12% for accessory.
Okay.
I believe I have Nancy with a question.
Just going to clarify, it's 214 feet deep.
Can't hear Nancy.
Is that a question, Nancy, or?
No, Laverne was wondering how deep the lot was.
Oh.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, we do have a motion on the floor to approve by Mark.
Okay. If there's no other questions, there's a seconder?
I have Nancy seconding.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed?
I have Laverne and Bob. Are you there? Sorry, I just don't
Yes.
have your video on.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Somehow my video shut off.
Yeah, that's okay. And are you opposed to this or in favor?
I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you.
One opposed then?
Mhm.
Okay. Motion carried. Application approved.
Thank you very much. I don't know if you can hear me, but
yes.
You're done.
Have a good
Thank
weekend.
you.
All right, so we are all set for the next one. So we are hearing SCA 21-162 for 464 McNeely Road in Stony Creek. We have the owner registered to speak. We also had additional comments from the zoning section. Cam is registered to speak, and then we have several interested parties registered to speak, as well as the counselor for the ward.
Okay, is the agent or owner available?
Can I speak?
Yes, welcome to the meeting. Did you read
Yeah,
the
thank you,
comments
sir.
posted?
Regarding the comments, most of them is or all of them is not related. The purpose of this minor variance, after I did the second survey, final survey for my house building, it got 4 centimeter different from the back. I don't know because of the different surveyor, which has maybe different instrument. From the side, 1 centimeter, which because there is cement board in the over the concrete. So that's the main thing for. But regarding the comments, all of them is out of the subject, and it's not. It's a fake, and this is ongoing things like from. It's a propaganda from neighbors against my building. Last comment from my neighbor, even I have a voice record. She called my house like Bin Laden compound. And they are just, John, who is like, is here now. So his house is out of, has no roof over his house, has no east roof, has no gutter, nothing there. And he talked about building standards. And he used to fake my my contractor, my builders, many times. He act like a contractor who has not paid.
I guess you're still.
He play many things. It's honest behavior, which is. I'm sure whatever he wrote, is not related. So just hate and jealous. Other neighbor, they just follow the same. It's not nothing related. So the only thing, as I mentioned again, just because of the surveyor has different numbers than the previous one. So then the city inspector told me you have to go with minor variance. This is the only thing. Very simple.
Okay, maybe we could hear from the concerned neighbors that are present.
Did you want to hear from the counselor or the concerned neighbors first?
Yeah, counselor. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I hope the residents don't mind me jumping in, but I appreciate the owner of the property. I think that's Aman, is it? Because his camera's not on. I do appreciate his input, but I want to go, if we could, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask Cam, who I believe is the Cam Thomas, is that correct? Would have been the planner on this, is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, through you? Sorry, I'm asking the chairman now. Is that, yeah. Cam, you're the one that oversaw this? Thank you. Cam, could you please confirm, because I'm aware that it's not a centimeter, it's a meter, is it not? Front yard and rear yard setbacks do not meet the requirements. It's more than a centimeter. Could you just verify what the variances are being asked for?
Certainly. Thank you. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, the variance that was recorded for the front yard is unfortunately incorrect because a building permit was issued previously, and there was also a variance in 2015 which identified that this was an existing lot, in which case the 10-meter front yard is not required. The actual requirement is 7.5 meters. So variance 1 is not required in this case.
And variance 1 was for what, Cam? Sorry.
That is for the front yard, Madam Chair.
1 meter. The 1 meter request that was noted as a 1 meter setback deficiency.
There's no front yard setback required. Like variance 1 would be removed.
Okay.
They meet the 7.5 meter front yard requirement.
Okay. The only other. Where are we taking the front yard setback from? From McNeely Road or from the North Service Road? Because that's a very confusing. Yeah.
Sorry, it's from the North Service Road.
Okay. Thank you for that. And the rear yard setback, I just want to be sure we all understand what the homeowner is saying and have the correct figures on the floor. So number
Absolutely.
requirement, it was not required, so that's off the table. The rear yard setback?
The rear yard setback is correct. It's still slightly under the requirement, which is 7.5 meters, and the request is for 7.4 meters to recognize the existing built situation.
Okay, so it's more than like a centimeter difference, correct? That's a half a meter? Not quite.
7.4 is the request.
Okay.
It's probably a few centimeters. It's very, very small.
Okay, thank you for that. And I believe there's the third request. Is there not? And this one confused me. It's the storage containers in the front yard. And I had an issue, and I did drive down there later last night. Because the storage containers, if you're saying, that's why I asked, we're considering the North Service Road as the front yard. So if the North Service Road is the front yard, I'm not sure what the storage containers are because they look like Rubbermaid garbage containers. Is that correct?
I didn't actually see the site, but it was based on the topographic survey that was provided. If they were considered to be an accessory structure, then they would be within the front yard and they require a variance, as noted.
Okay. So I guess there's some confusion, and I'll certainly, waive my further comments so the residents can speak. But those are my concerns, is questioning what the structures are, what they're for, because to me they look like a waste containers. I don't know how to describe them. I'm sure everybody's seen those Rubbermaid containers where the lid goes up or the doors open and you put your garbage cans and blue boxes in. That's what they look like. And if that's the case, our bylaw does not allow storage of waste containers in the front yard. So I'm not sure so I'm not sure what the variance is for, because if the variance is for structures, these aren't structures. So I'm confused.
Okay, I'll have to look at that one again, but the only other change that I wanted to mention was that a side yard variance also, it's very nominal, but it's to recognize the side yard on the non-flankage side as being 1.24 meters, whereas the requirement is for 1.25. That wasn't noted in the notice, but it was an oversight, and I apologize. It is required and it was applied for.
Okay, thank you, Kim. I'll relinquish to the residents if the chair will allow me to come back after, because I still want to ask about this question of the accessory structure, because I don't believe there's structures in the front yard, they're containers. So if that's okay, I will do that.
Yep, no, that's welcome. And I know that one of the members did go down and visit this site a couple of times, and I'm going to ask Vern to speak on what he saw there before I ask the residents to speak.
Yes, when I went down to take a look at this property, I parked on McNeely Road, and I was facing the South Service Road, looking to my left, and I was beside the house. I was about probably 30 to 40 feet from the corner, and there's a fence that runs parallel to McNeely that goes towards the South Service Road. And I could not see the traffic coming down the South Service Road from where I was. So in other words, if I was to drive right up to the corner, I wouldn't have a view of any traffic coming until I was virtually almost right to the intersection. The other thing is that I did notice these two containers at the front, and they look like storage covers, or like a cupboard or something that you would put a garbage can in. It appears to me that there's amenity space in the back dooryard. I don't know why these things couldn't have been put there, and we would avoid all this talk about putting these two structures in the front dooryard. So until this is sorted out, I think that until these structures are put in the back dooryard and removed from the front, I can't approve this thing. And even though staff recommended approval, after taking a look at it, I kind of wondered if staff has been out there to view it as I did. So I'll leave it at that. I think you know how I'm going to vote, but we need to do something with these two structures in the front yard before I can carry on with this.
from the concerned citizens, state your name and your address.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I'll go through the list and then I'll call each person in order. And I think you're just muted, just so you know.
Yep, sorry about that.
Thanks. Okay, so we will hear from John Nieldley first. So you're able to unmute yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie Nieldley, John Nieldley's daughter. I just thought I'd talk for him. I grew up in this neighborhood with bylaws of the city of Hamilton and what my dad had gone through with adhering to bylaws. Any construction on our property, which may not be within 60 meters of the 464 McNeely Road, but within the neighborhood. And I've seen this neighborhood go from cottage country to, suburbia. I think he has some valid concerns. I know that in one of his emails to the Committee of Adjustments that he talked about swales and the way the whether or not the foundation was built, maybe it was included and approved by, when the property owner was applying for the building permits, but whether or not that was followed is another thing. And I understand firsthand how busy employees of the city of Hamilton are as far as, Hamilton employees are not there to, be there every day or every minute to follow and make sure that homeowners or property owners are adhering to the different bylaws. And so my father, while John doesn't live directly adjacent to the property, he is very close with the neighborhood. He's lived here for 40 years. He speaks on behalf of people that are within that 60 meter or whatever parameter. And I have nothing bad to say about the employees of the city of Hamilton and the work everyone does. And, and I know in the notice that was sent out to residents about this, that while 3 variance requests were submitted, city staff reviewed and noted that further requests are going to be noted. So really the question that we should think about before approving these variances, these minor variances, is when's it going to stop? Like, how many are we going to allow? And is that going to start impeding the enjoyment of other people's enjoyments, residents' enjoyments of their property? So I think my biggest fear and my father and just like the neighborhood in general is we all have the right to enjoy our property. And I hope that speaks for sort of John Nieldley. And thanks for letting me share, or for speaking.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we will hear from Martina Iwanchuk next. It doesn't look like she's on the call, so we will go to the next item, or the next person, sorry. And we will hear from Jane and Angelo Fabretto.
Hello. Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yep,
yes, hi. Okay, thank you very much. Well, I have Richard Stark Tech to represent me, so he'll be doing most of his the talking for me. But I'm flabbergasted to find out that the North Service Road now is the front yard as opposed to McNeely Road, because his address says 464 McNeely Road. His driveway is there off of McNeely Road. How did the North Service Road become his front yard?
I know sometimes on corner lots, it's very confusing as to which road access they classify as front and which is rear. But I guess in this case, planning designates that North Service Road is his front yard in this case.
Okay, so we will hear from the next interested party. So we have Michael and Nadia Fabretto registered.
Yes, hello. My major concern is I'm residents at 467 McNeely Road. My father Angelo lives at 463 next door to me, as well as we also are owners of 43 Seabreeze, which is the next property over to mine. My biggest concern is when I look at this variance drawing that is actually submitted here, my biggest thing is that it states here that a 2-story brick and stone dwelling is basically on the actual survey here, as well as behind it, it shows as a 2nd-story balcony. Well, my concern is this house is no longer classified, in my opinion, as a 2-story home, as now there is actually a story on top, which is actually a rooftop patio. So am I to understand now that he can have a 2nd-story balcony that you can walk to from the ground level, as well as access from the 2nd story, so maybe the back rooms or whatever it is, plus have an auxiliary staircase that takes you up to the roof, that now you can actually have another story on top of your house? And my also concern with that is, was this part of the initial plan, or was this something added after the fact? And is it an engineered system?
So if I may interject here, I just, what's in front of us today are 2 variances only. Has nothing to do with the staircase or the home itself. It's basically the 2 variances are the rear yard depth, which is only a few centimeters away from being in compliance, and then the setback from the side lot line where these small plastic sheds are in the front yard. Well, those are the only 2 variances that we're actually dealing with today.
Sorry, I do believe that we're actually dealing with 3 variances, but maybe Cam could just provide clarity on it. I think it was the 3 variances. So,
thanks, Jamila. That's correct. There was one variance that was an oversight, and I apologize. It's very minor as well. It's similar to the rear yard one. It's for the side yard on the interior side, the easterly side yard, and the changes to permit it to be 1.24 meters instead of 1.25 meters.
but yes, Mr. Chairman, I do believe you are correct. We are not dealing with a variance for the roof structure.
Right, and variance 1 is not needed, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we will hear from the next interested party. So we have Elizabeth Katba.
Hi, I'm here with Elizabeth Katba, and her main concern is really the value of the properties in the area. That structure does not seem to conform or look anything like any of the properties in the whole street here. And her concern is the property value, basically. And in general, you know, one of the fences is so high that people coming or leaving cannot actually see the street. And that is the fence that is residing on the front.
Okay, and we will hear from the next interested party. So we have Michael Selly.
Hello. I'm at 470, directly beside the house that's there. I guess my concerns, as well as everybody else's, as you can tell, should be into a bigger discussion as opposed to the variances. But on the variances, I've got no comment on that.
Okay, and we have one other interested party. We have Richard Startek. So you'll just have to, yep, there you go.
Yeah, can you, okay. Yeah, I represent John and or Jane and Angelo Favretto. Angelo's spoken here, 463 McNeely Road, Stony Creek. It occurs to me, having talked to the building department yesterday of the city of Hamilton, that the 2015 variance application, there are no remarks. All they have designated is review. And I'm just wondering whether the committee has ordered up the building file from the building department to see what's happened here. I also learned that there is an open grading certificate. There's an issue with respect to water flowing off this property. It's never been properly graded or it's never been certified. Yet we're going into all these issues with respect to elimination of proper side yard and rear yard setbacks. I tried to get a copy of the decision from 2015 because certain issues were not granted at that time with respect to the application. You know, all that's happening here, in my opinion, from listening and looking at the documentation that I was able to get from the city, is that build it and then ask for forgiveness. Build it and then ask for forgiveness. And I don't know where the city is, the building department and the inspections, but it seems to me that this has been going on for about 4 years now, and there doesn't seem to be any documentation, any remarks in the building department's files with respect to these inspections as we go along. My clients, object to both variances. The grading has to be done. We're just going on and on here as far as I can see. All the neighbors kept track of what's been going on, and quite frankly, they shouldn't have to put up with it. Those are my remarks.
Mr. Chairman, so that was the remainder of the interested parties, but we did also have staff, Sarah Rogers wished to speak, and then we also had the councillor who wished to speak again as well.
Hi, through you, Mr. Chairman. I am development planning. I prepared the development planning comments on the application. I just wanted to clarify for everybody that with respect to the existing dwelling, they seek the variances that they needed in 2015, or they were sought, and they were approved. The building permit was issued, and the building that's there today was built in accordance with that. What they're looking at now for the variances for that existing dwelling are based on the as-built survey, and they're looking at a 4 centimeter reduction to the required rear yard and a 1 centimeter reduction to the interior side yard. That's what we're talking about for the existing dwelling. I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood the scope of the variances. So that's what we're looking at for the existing dwelling. As far as those accessory structures, they do look like waste storage containers. So, I mean, I guess the alternative, I don't know what they're to do with the grading. I don't know if the applicant would consider, I don't know if engineering is here to speak to the grading, the issue, but it is a concrete driveway underneath, so there's no swale there right now, but I wonder if the applicant might consider to push them. You could push them against the dwelling, and then you wouldn't need the reduction in that 0.5, but you would need, otherwise there's nowhere to put them, right? Because then they would be just so close to McNeely Road, and they'd be more visible, and so that's just wanted to provide some clarity there.
Okay, thank you. Councillor wish to speak at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to thank Sarah for some clarification, not total, but I appreciate the actual measurements of the rear yard and side yard. It's the east side yard variance that's being requested of 1 centimeter. So appreciate that these structures, quote unquote, I don't believe are structures. I believe they're waste recycling or waste storage bins, which under our bylaw are not allowed in a front yard. That's why I asked what we're considering as the front yard, because if it is the North Service Road, then they're not allowed to sit there. So Sarah, I thank you for saying that, they could be put on McNeely Road. They can actually be put in the rear yard, which is behind the driveway going to the north. So there is an avenue for that. This has nothing to do with Committee of Adjustments. This is a bylaw at the City of Hamilton. So that's where I have an issue with that being asked a variance for a structure, because they're not structures. Structure has to be over 10 by 10. This does not meet that. So number one, as I mentioned earlier, and I think Mr. Gaddy mentioned as well, the fencing not only went up very recently, because I don't believe I was down there probably about 3 weeks ago, and I didn't see the fencing along the North Service Road. But again, that's not a variance issue that can be dealt with today before your committee. Because number one, it's not on the applications, and the fence bylaw is not in here to say it could be applied for as a variance. So our fence bylaw is very specific, and I don't know if anyone is here from the department, because I'm sure that someone will pass it on to them. The fence bylaw is very specific that you can't be within, I think it's 12 feet of the frontage of the property where people are driving, I would assume from McNeely Road, or if it was a driveway, that blocks the visibility. So that's a totally separate issue, but I appreciate the residents that have raised this concern, and I too have them, but they're not part of the variances. And I appreciate the residents who are here today. It was mentioned about, let me see, Martina Iwanchuk. It's her mother that lives next door. And I know there's been ongoing drainage issues, and I would assume, again, it's not a variance issue today, but I would assume that grading and drainage will be finalized with the site plan and the requirements that the owner will have to meet. Maybe Sarah or Cam can confirm that. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, for you.
Sarah there to
Or Cam?
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you, Madam Councillor, could you please repeat that last part?
So my apologies. My question was the grading and drainage that I understand a couple of residents have had concerns with, and a resident who unfortunately was on the docket to speak but hasn't appeared, Martina Iwanchuk. I know it's her mother that lives to the east side of this property, and is having some drainage issues. And I believe that this isn't part of the variance, but any drainage and grading will have to be addressed by the homeowner or his builder, etc., to mitigate the drainage issues on the property, correct?
That would be correct. I believe it's still going through a permit review process in building. I had spoken to the building inspector, so there is some ongoing reviews that are still required. So that's correct.
So I would assume the grading, the fencing would be something that will be looked at when our staff are down there as well. And I have no problem with the setbacks as far as the 4 centimeters and the 1 centimeter. I understand this happens, for whatever reason, it's an as-built, it gets there, and all of a sudden, maybe it's the brick that just stuck out that much further that created the variances. But I do have an issue with the accessory structures being requested, because they're not, in my view, they're not accessory structures. They're not a 10 by 10 building. They are garbage bins. They are not allowed under our bylaw to be in a front yard. And the fencing issue is not a Committee of Adjustments issue at this time. So I'll leave that for the committee to decide where you want to go with this. I will be following up as well with my staff with regards to the other issues. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I did notice under Development Engineering, the comments from them, they recommend denial of variance 3 because of the lot grading policy requires a side yard setback to be a minimum of 0.9 meters for grading and swale purposes. So that's their comment from Development Engineering. So to the committee, questions for the applicant?
Sorry,
Can I speak?
sorry.
Sure.
Okay.
The applicant, please. Thank you.
Yes. Regarding the swell between my house and then my neighbor house, the neighbor, the lady there, when I dig already the swell, she doesn't want that because the ditch is already higher than her house and the house between. So if she said once we dig it, the water will come from the ditch to between the houses. So she stopped me. Then I was agree with her in this situation, but I have nothing to do. The city inspector has a solution for that. So then we work with that because the mother nature of this area the grading goes toward the lake. So when you go McNeely from north surface roads to McNeely to the lake, it's going down. So when I do that swell, it goes opposite. So the water will push. And she examined that herself when it's heavy raining. She told me, no, you have to stop digging that. So that I stopped. Then we work out some in the back. I did the swell in the back. Now everything is fine now. So we have no problem with drainage, anything with the drainage now. And even I was with the neighbor yesterday. There's nothing better than this to do.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're dealing with 3 variances, the 1 centimeter side yard, the 4 centimeter rear yard, and the structures that are in the front yard are at a 0 from the side lot line. And I guess my only comment, there's a lot of issues that were brought up and they're bylaw issues, not to be in front of our decision today. So to the applicant, I mean, if you were to, these containers or these structures that are in the front yard, are they movable? Can you move them to what the city is recommending in the comments is 0.5 of a meter from the side
Yes.
lot line? Are they movable?
Yes, I can do that more than even 0.5. So still have a place, space in the concrete. I can forward them. Yeah.
So I mean, if you were to satisfy that variance and move them at least 0.5 of a meter away from the side lot line, that satisfies, I think, I can't speak for all the members, but that satisfies us as minor variances, and there's other issues that are going to get dealt with through bylaw.
Yes, sir.
I throw that out to the rest of the committee for questions or some feedback.
Councillor Pearson's trying to get your attention.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I just want to reiterate and appreciate the conversation on the accessory structures. It's more than a half a meter they have to be moved. They have to be moved completely out of the front yard. I know they were up against the side yard setback, but the issue is not the fact that they're not an accessory structure. They're garbage containers, and they should be in the backyard of the property or on the driveway side, but they cannot be in the front yard.
Right.
I know these, okay, so that's, hopefully the applicant can address that. The other variances, I did want to ask a question because I think that you mentioned in engineering's comments say that they require a minimum 0.9 in the east side side yard, and I believe, aren't they asking for 1.24? Correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah or Cam. So is that not sufficient? I know he has to deal with the grading and drainage.
I believe development engineering's comments were related to the variance 3 for the accessory structures.
Oh, well, if he moves those, then that's addressed. Okay, thank you.
So we did have committee members who wished to speak. So I think I saw Margaret and then Nancy and then Mel and Thomas.
Okay.
Then we'll open it up again.
My comment is about number 3. The other ones are very minor. I think one of the people who commented, who sent in a written comment, mentioned about the fact that they were concerned that if we permitted the structures to be in the front yard and at 0 meters from the lot line, there's nothing to prevent them from constructing a much larger accessory structure. Once we've given sort of variance permission to have it on the lot line. I'm a little concerned about that as well. That at the moment they're garbage containers, but if we do approve variance number 3, or even if we approve 0.5 meters, that would apply to any accessory structure, not just the Rubbermaid containers. So I would not be in favor of variance number 3 at all. So that's my comment.
Okay, and then we had Nancy.
Sorry, Margaret, but I'm going to say just the opposite. As again, number 1 and number 2 are very minor, so I don't think we need to have too much discussion further on that, in my opinion. We need to make this clear. I own, I'm sure other people own, these plastic containers that you put stuff in, and they are strictly containers. They're not, they're portable. They're, people have them everywhere. People use them to put their lawn cushions in, for goodness sake, the lawn chair cushions. I think if the word portable containers, garbage containers, replace the word accessory structure, we wouldn't even be dealing with number 3. It's almost sounded to me like it was a request from the councillor to look at it from a bylaw point of view. Scratch number 3, Mr. Alfara, and put the cans at the rear of the front of the house, so at the back of the house, so it's not in front. And then we're just going to scratch number 3, my opinion.
Sorry, and then I believe we had Mel.
Yeah, I'm probably the same as Nancy. I wonder if the owner could put them, take them over the front yard there and put them in the yard back of the house or off the street there. So if he could do that, then as Nancy said, we wouldn't even be dealing with this.
Okay, and then we had Thomas. Oh.
Hey, the sound is cutting out. I had trouble hearing the other people, but I think if we look at these so-called structures as garbage cans, which basically they are, the city bylaw forbids you to leave the garbage cans in the front lawn or front of the house, whatever it is. So they have to go around back. It's that simple. The other 2 requests are pretty simple and straightforward. I would be prepared to make a motion to allow the variances sought for, except for number 3, and that be denied. You can move the garbage cans around the back.
Is that a motion, Tom?
Yes.
You talk to the owner first. Can we hear from the owner to see whether he can do that, would willing to do that?
I didn't hear that.
Can we hear from the owner to see whether he's willing to move those garbage containers into the backyard?
Yeah, it's not a difficult thing. It's just a place to store like some accessory stuff. It's easy to be moved. Yeah, it's not. I think it's not a problem. Yeah.
Okay, and so Thomas, can I just clarify your motion? So your motion was to approve the variance for the minimum rear yard to be 7.4 instead of 7.5 meters.
Yes.
And to approve and then to add the additional variance for the side yard setback from 1.5 to 1.4.
Yes.
Is that correct, Cam?
Yes.
My numbers are right, or?
I'm sorry, the change is from 1.25 meters to 1.24 meters.
Yes, right.
Okay, Thank you, sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Oh, wait a minute. Can we be clear on what number 3 is in
Okay.
Thomas's motion?
Sure,
Number
I'll,
three, remove
I
those
can,
containers into the backyard.
Without 3.
yes, sorry, that was removed, yeah. So the motion would
Okay.
be for the rear yard and for the side yard.
Perfect.
Those are the only 2 variances.
And to deny the variance 3.
We're going to remove it.
Yeah, it's removed.
Seconder on that?
I have Nancy,
All in favor?
Here.
Opposed, if any?
seeing none?
Okay, motion approved.
So the owner just needs to deal with bylaw on those other issues.
Okay.
Okay, and then we are all set for the next one. So we are hearing SCA 21171 for 1255 Arvin Avenue in Stony Creek. We have the agent registered to speak and Councillor Pearson, and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the agent present?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Did you read the comments posted?
Yes, I have. They're acceptable.
Do you have any questions or concerns?
None at all.
Okay, Councillor, would you like to speak?
I'm okay with it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this. You've done it in the past on some other industrial properties. Truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, committee.
Move it, Dudzik.
That's it, move it.
Okay, and then I had a second, I think by Mel, or they both motioned at the same time.
Yep.
All in favor? Opposed, if any?
Seeing none?
Motion accepted, application approved.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, and for the committee members and anybody else, the next file, GLA 21164 for 2411 Upper James Street in Glanbrook was tabled. Okay, and we
They'll be
are all
back.
set. Pardon? Sorry?
They'll be back.
You'll be back.
Yes.
What else is new?
All right, and we are all set for the next file. So we are now hearing HMB 18143 and HMA 18385 for 197 Brucedale Avenue in Hamilton. We have the agent registered to speak, as well as the owner and one interested party.
Okay, is the agent available?
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Matt Johnston, a registered professional planner with Urban Solutions, here on behalf of the owner, Frank Leonardis, who's also in the meeting, should there be any questions. If I could roll right into my presentation.
That's fine. Would you like to hear from the interested party first, or?
And for this one, I appreciate the question, but I wouldn't mind rolling through things first. There are a few things that I want to point out, and then I'd be happy to respond to any questions or comments that the interested party has.
Okay, no doubt you did read the comments, so you know what the stance is. I gave you the opportunity to table at this point, but I think you want to be carry through.
I would like to carry through with the presentation for sure. So I'll do that. So, right off the bat, one of the things that I noticed in the comments in the staff report and that were in the written submissions is a suggestion that there weren't very many substantial changes. And seeing that and talking to the applicant, we have agreed to make a few key concessions that I'll get towards at the end of my presentation. So we've heard these comments, we understand them, and we've taken a few good steps to try to address them. So here we go. We can all see my screen.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, great. So again, we're talking 197 Brucedale Avenue. The subject lands are just on the north side of Brucedale, just about 120 odd meters west of Upper Wellington. And we've got a street view shot here with the existing dwelling to the left in gray, 1.5 stories, with the surplus lands between it and the neighboring property to the east. The property is designated neighborhoods, Zone C for single detached dwellings. Again, here you can see the building envelope in relation to the balance of the property. This image here shows the severance that was applied for with the application. Again, the application was applied for quite a while ago, prior to Urban Solutions being the agent. So this sketch reflects Urban Solutions' take on that initial submission. There's a number of variances required. You see them outlined in the staff report to accommodate the severance, some associated with the existing dwelling, some associated with the proposed lot. Now, with the number of concerns raised, we wanted to really just take a quick look at the as-of-right permissions. And that's what this image shows here. So from an as-of-right perspective, we're actually able to accommodate a much larger single detached dwelling. One that actually has a 2,500 square foot building envelope, 2.5 story meters in height. That's really not the intent of the applicant. Mr. Leonardis is really committed to carrying out with the severance and the introduction of the new, more appropriately scaled dwelling. But should he sell the property as is, an envelope of this size is permitted. We then overlaid that envelope onto the aerial photo that shows just the contrast that an as-of-right permission would take here on the dwelling and on the surrounding community. You can see it's substantially larger than what exists in the area. We've got, again, a 2,500 square foot buildable envelope. You know, I appreciate there were concerns raised by Councillor Danko, who suggested that perhaps a duplex dwelling be more appropriate. Well, the duplex dwelling wouldn't be an as-of-right permission, but it is something that could be envisioned, something contemplated given the policy framework. But again, what the preference of the owner is to really pursue a more appropriately scaled single detached dwelling. So this image here shows the evolution of the concept, the original submission prior to Urban Solutions involvement. And then we have the updated concept. And I mentioned a couple of concessions that we'd like to make and incorporate into the decision. So most notably, we have a commitment to limit the building height to 1.5 stories. That's a significant shift from the as-of-right permission of 2.5 stories as an as-of-right permission, or 11 meters. So we'd like to incorporate that into the decision. We've also heard concerns through the city engineering about the drainage. So what we've done is we've increased our side yard setback for the severed lands from the original proposal of 0.7 meters, and we've increased that to 0.9 to satisfy that grading policy. So those are sort of the key changes that we've brought forward to introduce. And when we consider those, we look at the property and its surrounding context. We hear concerns about lot frontage, lot area, and staff also note even distance between dwellings. So this image here shows a lot of the comparable lot fabric in the immediate area. This shows the distance between dwellings just on the side street there. Again, I'd say it's really characterized by variation, a nice planning term that we like to use when we've got this sort of inconsistent rhythm. And here we are here again. houses are predominantly closer together. This is the subject property and its neighboring one. So a concern that this is characterized by a lot of space between dwellings, I think is a mischaracterization by staff on the character of this area. And then finally, just the general concerns about introducing a new lot here. If you're following what the city's up to on a broader level, we're working to implement the new growth plan, requiring us to plan to 2051, where we need to accommodate 236,000 new people to the city. Currently, UHOP says 40% of all of our intensification is supposed to happen in neighborhoods just like this one. As part of the GRID's process to implement that new growth plan, the city put forward a report in March of 2021, and they considered 4 scenarios. The current trends scenario, where we're struggling to hit that 40% target in the OP, would require a boundary expansion of over 3,000 hectares. In the end, staff recommended the most ambitious target, averaging 60% intensification, to have the smallest boundary expansion. And when council considered that recommendation, they actually said, time out, we want you to go report back on a 0 boundary expansion and what that looks like from an intensification perspective. So it just really shows the mood of council and the recognition of the need to build within our existing communities to avoid those boundary expansions. So right now, staff are tasked with that investigation. So how do we accommodate all this intensification? Well, we got to do it compatibly. And thankfully, UHOP has a definition of compatible. And I've got it on the screen here. It means land uses and building forms that are mutually tolerant and capable of existing together in harmony in an area. Compatible or compatible should not be narrowly interpreted to mean the same as, or even being similar to. So with that definition in mind, we've got to look to accommodate this form of intensification, and I think we have a proposal that does that. So again, I'll leave this last screen on the slide summarizing our modifications to the variance in efforts to respond to the concerns raised. And again, that's limiting it to a 1.5 story building with a ground floor envelope of 1,000 square feet. We're increasing the variance request to the side yard of the severed lands to go from 0.7 to 0.9 to address the engineering matter. And at the back of the zoning comments, you'll see some variances that were actually noted in our request, omitted from the notice, but then captured in the staff report. And that's what variances item 3 and 4 are on the slide. And then finally, we're happy to and feel it's important to secure the Boulevard parking agreement that we've already taken steps to initiate. So again, with these extra controls to the application, we think it represents an appropriate form of intensification, one that's compatible with the area, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well presented.
Thank you.
And-
Maybe at this point, the concerned citizen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So I have been looking for them and they do not appear to be on the call.
Okay.
Did have
Did you
that
have a
letter.
counselor on this one or not?
Well, he sent letters, I think.
Sorry, I missed your question, Mr. Chair.
Did we have a counselor on this one or not?
No, we do not have a counselor registered for this file.
Okay. Committee, questions?
I have Laverne and then Thomas.
I went down and took a look at this one. And after taking a look at it, I drove around the block. And as we just heard, there's several other places on the side streets that are much the same as this. I'll read my comment. Look at East 8. So close, it's a good example of what not to do. 233, 231, you can barely walk between them. And when I drove down 8th, there was a truck on the street and they were changing the shingles on the roof of one of the homes. And there was a fella standing on the sidewalk with his arms folded. And I said to him, "Do you live here?" He said, "Yes, I do. And I'm watching that you don't dump the shingles on my sidewalk." So the houses are wedged in there. I believe I heard a comment 2 weeks ago. The word was shoehorn. And I think this is exactly what we're trying to do here. So I'm not overly enthused about what we're doing on this lot. Thank you.
And I believe we had Nancy.
I think there's someone in front of me.
Okay. Thomas, sorry. Thank you.
I'm the anti-shoehorn guy. I think the one example that we were shown on the slide of the big building that could be put on that lot, I think that's somewhat disingenuous. The bylaw requires, for instance, 1.2 meters in the side yard. So if you take that building and take off 2 meters each side, you don't have such a huge building. Number one. Number two, parking. Nobody's going to allow a big building like that with front yard parking. You're going to have a driveway down the side and probably a garage in the back. And so it's not going to be squeezed in there the way that diagram shows, in my view. And the issue of these houses all being close together. The one picture you saw of this property, it had a significant space on one side, and if you look at all the other houses, generally where they're narrow together on one side, there's a larger space on the other side. So they're not crammed in there with very narrow spaces on both sides, the way the Laverne describes on the other streets. There's a little bit of sensible planning went into these places. And again, you know, this property could be utilized to build a larger house, perhaps a duplex with the necessary parking space. And it just would not be as profitable as building 2 houses and selling them. And so, unfortunately, people try to make money when they do these things, and I doubt if the developer is going to live in either of these places. And we get this kind of development effect where these undesirable, in my view, situations are inflicted on the people that already live there, and from the letters apparently have lived there for some period of time. So I would be inclined to vote against this.
If I could just take a moment to respond to the good comments of the committee member there. I just did really want to highlight that the image shown did respect the zoning bylaw requirements in terms of side yard setbacks, etc. You know, I respect that it's a change that the community would be feeling, and you know, I don't disagree. There's many different interfaces between buildings. Some of them are tight, some of them are spacious. But again, I go back to this council direction where they're really tasking staff with how do we accommodate 200,000 people to 2051 without expanding our urban boundary? If we can't have accommodations like this one, then I think boundary expansions are the norm and not in line with council direction. So I think that we've got to be a little more flexibility. We've got an appropriate definition of what compatibility means, and ask you to consider it from that light. Thank you.
Could I speak, Mr. Chairman? You can't see me, but I'm here.
Nancy first, and then
Sure.
Mark.
Okay, I just wanted to, I didn't mean right away. I just want to speak.
Okay. Matt, I don't have in front of me those two, number 1 and number 2 that you made some changes to. I know you made changes to the 0.7 to the 0.9 on the side yard. I do have an issue with number 1 and number 2 as being not minor. Those are not what I would consider minor. When you're dealing with 12 meters, reducing it by a meter or something slightly around that amount, that's minor. But to reduce it to the magnitude of what I see here, it's hard. It's not really minor. And again, number 2 is a huge variance. The footprint of the building, as seen on the plan, hugs the neighbor on the east side, and then I guess there's an issue with that neighbor. I don't know what it is, but an issue with that neighbor due to privacy, which we can't avoid. That's just something that happens when you get a vacant lot, suddenly it's filled in, you lose that privacy. But to have that large variance and then to also need a shortcut to the parking is not just sitting right with me. So I'd like to hear from the others as well before I make a decision. I think Mr. Charters and Mr. Dudzik both had their hands up.
Who's next? Me?
Sure, go ahead, Mark.
Did I go?
No,
Okay,
Bob.
So I understand what everyone's saying there, and I do understand that what Tom saw was what was possible, and that's not what's going in. Typically, you try to put something nice and cute and smaller in. But as for the lot sizes and variances, if you go up East 8th Street, number 235, 33, 29, 27, 31, 21, all of those lots are basically the same width as these ones. So all of those don't have the same required dimensions because they're all predating the bylaw. So you're keeping in character with it. Rather than just having some sloppy land, you can put a nice, neat, compact house. I'm sure they're not, this isn't a cram in West Hamilton student housing as big as you can, with as many rooms as you can. I'm sensing it's going to be a little cute house like the ones there for a single family. So that's only my point there. If this was West Hamilton by McMaster, and then you're trying to put what the bylaw would allow, which Matt had shown, then I would definitely have the same concerns and the shoehorning and everything that Nancy and Tom said. But I'm sensing that it's going to be something nice and quaint, and it's going to be new, and it's going to fit in, and they're going to have the boulevard parking agreement, and that's my points.
And then go ahead, Bob.
I am inclined to think along the same lines as Mark here. I don't know how we make housing affordable for people if we don't allow for smaller houses in infill settings like this. And I think I do want to hear also from Matt what the actual changes are to what was originally requested. But I'm inclined to support the idea of allowing this because I think that there not only are small families, but as the population ages, which it is, it's getting harder and harder to find small houses to downsize to. So I think from that perspective, this could be a good infill project.
Thank you. In response to the question, I do have that slide available, but the gist of it is the first request was really not to change variances, but only allow those variances to apply to a 1.5 story dwelling having a maximum ground floor area of 1,000 square feet. And the intent there is, again, to ensure that the built envelope doesn't extend too deep into the rear yard, trying to address the privacy concern to the neighbor. The 1.5 story intended to keep the character of the streetscape consistent. So that's one level of control. Then the next change was a change to variance number 3 and 4 for the severed lands, where rather than a 0.7 meter side yard, we ask for a 0.9. And that's in response to the engineering concerns raised. And then we did want to include 2 more variances that are noted in the staff report. They were requested in our submission, but omitted from the notice. and they're on page 7 of 7 of the staff report. You'll see them there. So we'd like to introduce those into the list of variances. And I think, to the intensification point, it speaks directly to the affordable housing crisis we're facing, and appreciate those comments. Would be happy to answer any other questions.
One short one. Probably to staff, Matt, not to you necessarily, but why, I don't know why I'm not seeing it, but why are 2 parking spots required for a single family dwelling? That's your variance 12, I believe.
And sorry, I missed part of the question. Why is it not? I didn't hear the full.
Well, you're going to try and provide the one with the boulevard parking, which is great, but I'm not quite sure why they're saying 2 are required for a single family dwelling. Should it not just be 1? That's the whole street. Some of them have no parking.
I believe it relates to, like, it's a non-conforming situation, and it relates to applying the ratio per habitable rooms.
Right.
And I think that's what's triggering the need for 2.
So what's it going to be, 8 rooms then?
It's just the existing dwellings, and I wish I did a little bit more homework to know exactly how many rooms there were, but those rooms, again, just to remind you, are not necessarily bedrooms. The dining room counts as a room. So it's a quick ripple effect that in this instance, although it's a small house, triggers the need for 2.
Okay, and I do love the fact that it goes 1.5 story, because that is the majority of the fabric in the neighborhood.
I'm ready to make a motion if no one else has any other comments. What's that, Bob?
I'll second.
Sorry, we
Okay.
did have Nancy with a question and then Thomas with a question as well.
You mean Margaret?
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Margaret.
Nancy just spoke.
Yes, they're at each other again. I have to put them on like opposite ends of the screen. they're like their names, because of how the names are listed. Oh, it's terrible. Sorry, I apologize.
Okay, I had a question about these changes. This is for Matt. These changes that you're proposing, have you passed these by staff at all, or is this just something you came up with today?
It's something that we developed in conversation with the proponent. I think it speaks to their level of cooperation to work with the community and not be too bullish about how they go about this sensitive intensification. I think the reduction or the increase to the side yard from 0.7 to 0.9 wouldn't really require any specific dialogue. It's just in direct response to the staff report. The cap on square footage and 1.5 stories is something that I would see introduced into the sort of the prelude to the variances, which is really how the notices are always issued. The following variances apply to this built form, and so no, I haven't vetted them in with staff, but I think it's a good level of control to ensure compatibility.
Yes, I'm just wondering how we would do that. Did you have any suggestion on wording?
To the committee member, I would recommend that if the changes to variances 3 and 4, if those were for the side yards, those could be directly addressed. And then for the additional criteria for, I believe, Matt, you said 1.5 stories and was it 1,000 square feet or?
That's right, 93 square meters.
93 square meters. Those could be added as conditions to both the variance, to the variance. And they would apply to the land for the severed portion.
Okay, would that be a condition of the variance or a condition of the severance?
It would be a condition of the variance because that would be tied to the land and it would run with the land. The severance, that condition would need to be fulfilled within the 1-year timeline.
You're right, yes. Okay, thank you.
And then I believe we had Thomas who wished to speak.
Yeah, well, just a final comment. You're not going to solve the housing crisis by shoehorning. You're going to solve it by rezoning areas, and it may very well be that new construction would be smaller, cheaper houses, townhouses, condominiums. That's in fact the way things are going. And so far as the cute houses going in here, I just read one comment from the staff report. It says the reduction in lot frontage would result in a facade that is noticeably narrower than that of the existing surrounding dwellings. Staff does not support these variances because the proposed reduced frontages and reduced lot area would not maintain the neighborhood character. You don't solve the housing crisis by wrecking neighborhoods.
Okay.
Can you hear from staff to see whether they're in favor of anything what he's proposing?
Sorry, Sarah, I'm not sure if you were able to hear Mel. He was just asking if staff are in support of any of the proposed changes.
Through the chair, I would just say that I'm just the changes aren't really substantial in that enough to change the recommendation to approval. And I'm just looking at the engineering ones, and it looks like they're looking for a 1.2 meter side yard on one side, and as well, Councillor Danko had provided some written comments. And with respect to the condition on the minor variance, I just always hesitate a little bit with the kind of condition that takes away something that's as of right for all the houses that are around it. It's sort of there are just as the neighborhood transitions, it's just this property isn't allowed to do what the other properties are, how they are allowed to develop. So it's just something to think about in that way. I don't know if I've answered your question.
All right. If there's no more questions, I know we have a motion put forward.
Sorry, what was the motion? I think I missed that in all of
Mark.
Okay, I made a motion to approve, and I believe Bob seconded it.
Okay, and to approve as written or approve as amended?
As amended.
As amended, so with variance 3 and 4 for the severed lands to be 0.9 meters instead of 0.7 meters, and to add conditions to the minor variance for a 1.5 story and 93 square foot. Is it gross square foot or just square
It's
foot?
1,000 square feet. You're talking
Or sorry,
meters.
93 square meters, sorry. Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
That would, to me, would work as a cute house in a empty lot.
Okay, and those were the
So
only
that's my motion. Yes.
amendments? Okay.
And sorry, with the two extra variances that were noted in the zoning comments that were in our.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Right.
Sorry, I had those, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was a motion by Bob, a motion by Mark, seconded by Bob.
Okay. All in favor of that motion?
No.
Okay, and opposed?
So I have Margaret, Laverne, Mel, and Thomas. So that's 4 in favor and 4 opposed.
Okay, that's a tie vote. In this situation, I have a vote, and with my comments that planning is against it and half the committee is against it, that I will vote against it. So the motion is denied.
So the motion is defeated.
Defeated.
If I could ask, given that outcome, perhaps we can respectfully ask another tabling to consider further modifications to tighten things up and work with staff.
That's up to the committee to either make a motion or.
I think we're past that, aren't we?
No.
That's your call, Tom. You can make a motion to deny the application, or you can make a motion to table.
So I have David wishing to speak.
David?
Yeah, nobody's made a motion yet to deny.
Yes, they have.
We've only had a motion on the
Yeah.
table to approve. So I'll put a motion in first, the table.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to table from David, seconded by Margaret.
All in favor to table?
Here, here.
Thank you.
Opposed?
I see one opposed. Thomas is opposed.
Okay, so the motion is tabled.
Thank you.
Application is tabled. Okay, try again.
Try again.
Yeah, so I get to stay with you guys a little bit longer. I've got a couple more.
Of course you do.
Frank, I will be in touch with you shortly.
All righty.
Okay, so we are now hearing HMA 21-148 for 5 and 7 Sealy Avenue in Hamilton, and we have the agent registered to speak and no interested parties.
Good afternoon. Just happy to answer any questions, but again, these variances implement a previous severance that was approved by the committee, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
These are simple. Move it.
I have a motion to approve by Nancy, seconded by Mel.
All in favor?
Here, here.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none?
Motion carried. Application approved.
Next one's the same, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess we can theoretically hear the next two together because they are related-ish. So we'll hear HMA 21-153 for 302 East 24th Street in Hamilton, and HMA 21-154 for 385 East 23rd Street in Hamilton. And again, we have the agent registered to speak and no interested parties.
We've done these in groups before, correct? So I'm going to make a motion to approve them both.
I'll go with the
Seconded.
Okay, and Mark seconded.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none?
Motion carried. Application approved.
Bye, Matt.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, and our last item is HMA 21-149 for 14 Tilbury Court in Hamilton. And we have the agent registered to speak and the owners and no interested parties.
Yes. Is the agent available?
Yeah, speaking.
Brent?
Yep.
Sorry it took us so long to get to the end of the day, but did you happen to read the comments that were posted?
Yes, I did.
And do you have any questions?
No, we agree with everything.
Move it.
Okay, I have motion by Bob, and then was that a second or a question, Laverne?
Made the motion to approve it, but I'll second Bob's motion.
Okay.
All in
Thank
favor?
you.
Opposed?
Seeing none?
Seeing none. Motion accepted. Application approved.
Have a nice evening.
Cheers.
Wonderful. And that's it, that's all.
Okay, is there any business anybody wants to bring up?
Has anyone been paid recently?
Have
Yes,
certain
I
people submitted their timesheets?
Yeah, I did like a couple months ago.
You may want to check that again.
Mine is, I sent all of May so far. So I try to do it by the month like we're supposed to.
Actually got a
Nice.
huge check.
Touch base with Kim for me. She's supposed to send them in. I don't know how to do it.
Okay, I'll check with Kim.
Thanks.
Yeah,
So I have a question. These little hand things down at the bottom, do they actually work?
Yes, like the symbols?
Yeah.
Yep,
So
they do.
what's
Yep.
that
So
for?
if you raised your hand, so depending on the nature of the meeting, like that WebEx has, sometimes it's appropriate. So the way I have it set up for our meetings is that everybody is muted, but they have the ability to unmute themselves. There is another way to do it where I have to send them a request to unmute themselves and then they do that. So sometimes you can put your hand up to say like, I have a question or I have a comment, and it will be dealt with later. So it's kind of a way for the speaker to keep track of that. I haven't put it out in any of our literature that goes out about how the meetings work, just because it's kind of one more thing that if people aren't familiar with it, they won't see it. But I do see it if somebody raises their hand. So occasionally I've used it. It's mostly staff or people who are familiar with WebEx use it. And then in other circumstances, you can like do a couple of other options. I think I have them all turned off for this meeting, but there's like you can send like emojis and they'll pop up on your screen and stuff like that too. So I have as much possible turned off. Just to keep it simpler for everybody and not have to worry about as much. But they
Okay,
do
you guys,
work.
I got to split.
Yep.
Okay, see
Okay,
yous.
cheers.
Bye.
Okay.
Okay, so my only comment, I do apologize, there was 2 meetings ago, right at the end of the meeting, I lost power at my home residence, and then it came back on, and then it disappeared, and my battery backup wouldn't allow me to make contact. But I wanted to bring up something at the end of that meeting was one of the applicants commented, it was up in Flamborough, one of the applicants commented about one of the members did a site visit and commented about negative comments and that, he was going to vote, or that person was going to vote against it. And I just wanted to just, make sure the committee understands that we can't make comments when we go to visit. We just have to stay neutral. So